Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The New Orleans Saints, look, the running back situation has certainly been tricky this year. Kamara's missed a couple of games because of injury. And you had brought in Latavius Murray, who played really well in London.
Murray, present.
And then was, as you know, promptly signed off the practice squad by the Denver Broncos to their active roster. And then the Saints waived Tony Jones Jr., and he was claimed off of waivers by Seattle. So Saints are really thin on running back numbers. So on Wednesday, today, they brought in a few backs for workouts, and among them were A.J. Rose, Antonio Williams, Jordan Wilkins, and Jordan Howard. Howard was interesting because he's a guy that they actually brought in July for a workout whenever they were kind of keeping up with the roster. We talked about this. We talked about running back so much this offseason, all throughout free agency and the draft. When we looked at the draft, really thought the Saints might take an opportunity to draft a running back, but the Saints did what they often do, which is move up, so they lost the volume of draft capital and didn't have the opportunity to select a running back. And so they kind of meandered through the offseason. We know that they made a play at some veteran free agent running backs and weren't able to get a deal done. Most notably Sony Michel, who's a guy they wanted to sign but chose to sign in Miami. And it didn't work out for the Saints to sign some of the free agents that they had talked about. Tariq Cohen was a guy that we talked about, and then he had the unfortunate Achilles injury while working out. And it went that way for New Orleans. So they were just really thin at that spot. And then we know what happened there. They signed Latavius Murray. And
Murray, present.
And what's happened here. But one of the reasons you bring guys in for workouts is to keep an updated scouting report on that player. Even if you don't intend maybe to sign the player there, you have an updated workout scouting report on him, so you know if you get down a player at a certain position during the season, you know who you can call and feel confident or comfortable about. And so having had Jordan Howard here in July probably gave the Saints some confidence with what they were getting with a player who's now in his 7th year in the NFL. And Nick Underhill, while nothing official from the Saints, Nick Underhill did tweet earlier today that the Saints have signed running back Jordan Howard to the practice squad. He notes Howard appeared in 7 games for the Eagles last season, averaging 4.7 yards per attempt on 86 carries. A need there after losing Latavius Murray and Tony Jones Jr. Again, that's
Murray, present.
Nick Underhill on Twitter. So the Saints add Jordan Howard, and I like this. I like it a lot. A couple of reasons. Number one, when we talk about guys like Murray and Ingram, they're both over 30 years old. I mean, Latavius Murray is a 32-year-old running back.
Murray, present.
And while he had fresh legs and ran really well against the Vikings in London, the very fair question to ask was if that performance was a result of having fresh legs. And as a 32-year-old back, the more run he got during the year, might he wane? I mean, that would have been a very fair question to ask. With Jordan Howard, you're talking about a guy that's 27. And we often talk about running backs and their shelf life in the NFL, and it's usually when they hit the age of 30, right? I mean, that's just generally what we say. Jordan Howard's only 27 years old. He was drafted out of Indiana back in 2016 in the 5th round. And he went to the Bears, and he started his career with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And actually, in his 3rd year, he was just shy. He was actually 65 yards shy of 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to open his career. He rushed for 1,300 yards as a rookie, 1,100 yards as a second-year player, then 935 in his 3rd year. But keep in mind, that was also coinciding with the Bears bringing in Tariq Cohen, who had a very nice start to his career. So at that point, the Bears saw Howard as expendable. They ended up trading him to Philadelphia, where he didn't really produce very much. He played in 10 games in 2019. He ended up going to Miami to start the 2020 season. They waived him after just 5 games. He re-signed with Philly, where he was for the balance of 2020, and then last season where he played 7 games. So you're talking about a guy that in his first 3 seasons in the league played in 47 games. And in the 4 subsequent years, he's played in 10, 5, 2, and 7. That's 24 games. He's played only 24 games over the past 4 seasons. So it's a 27-year-old guy who still has a lot of tread on the tires. So you want to talk about a young guy with fresh legs, he fits the mold. And I would tell you this, the other problem, the other gigantic problem that Saints running backs have had this year, all of them, by the way, have had this year, is fumbling. It's holding on to the football. Over the course of his career, through the previous 6 seasons, he's fumbled 6 times total and lost 3. He's lost 3 fumbles in 6 years. More than 1,000 attempts, he's fumbled 6 times. I like that a lot. Ball security needs to be paramount for this team. And to be clear, they've signed Jordan Howard to the practice squad. So there's no guarantee he's going to be elevated to play in a game. We'll see if that becomes a necessity at some point. But you have to have some option here, because what you have is Alvin Kamara, who's been battling a rib injury, was really good this past week, but's already missed a couple of games this year. Mark Ingram, who looks like a shell of what he once maybe you thought he could have been, but has just not been a productive player for this team this year. And has had costly fumbles as well, most notably at the 10-yard line going in to score against Tampa Bay in a game that got away from you after that fumble. So you will probably at some point this year need the services of a veteran running back like Jordan Howard, and I like that option because that's a guy who we've seen do it on Sundays, unlike Tony Jones Jr., who we've seen do it in the preseason and been real optimistic about, but when he got his chance on Sundays, he just didn't perform. And, you could talk about a guy like Dwayne Washington, who's primarily been a special teams guy, as we know, but I like this a lot. I don't want to overstate it. I'm not trying to tell you that signing a running back to the practice squad is the missing link for the Saints to win a Super Bowl, but at a position where, like, we have all, and I'm not just talking about us here on this show, I mean, everyone who follows and covers the New Orleans Saints has talked about this since the draft, the need for the Saints to add running back. Didn't happen during the draft, didn't happen during free agency, happened out of necessity when you added Murray, and with injuries with Kamara. I mean, we all know now what the issue is at running back, and you need bodies. This is a good option. This is a good option of a veteran guy who's still young, who's got a lot of tread on the tires, who protects the football, and has been a productive back, rushing for over 200 carries in a season 3 times, and he's been a 1,000-yard rusher twice, and just missed 1,000 yards by 65 yards in year 3. So Saints add Jordan Howard, running back, you would know primarily from his time with the Bears, and of course the Eagles more recently, but a guy who has been a good player during his career and is still a young guy in year 7. But we'll see if they need him. My odds are is that they will, just considering how that position is gone already this year. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.